Good day, everybody. How's it going? Rob Tomlinson, DishNet34 here, welcoming you to today's episode of This Week in Perfect Team, episode number 220, the Roberto Clemente collection. Yes, indeed. We are here today. We're going to be celebrating the career of one of the greatest players in baseball history. I mean, Roberto Clemente, a fantastic baseball player. We're also going to have some really good cards of some very notable Puerto Rican players that have played in Major League Baseball. We're going to have some cards of maybe some former Pirates of Clemente's era. We're gonna have some great times here today. Oh man, hopefully y'all have had a great day so far today. Hopefully it's been relatively stress-free. Because man, oh man, my morning for my work, for my newspaper job, whoo boy, I mean, I had to go to 2 meetings today, back to back, just absolutely insane. Absolutely insane today. So, I'm just going to need to take a couple of deep breaths before we get started so we can just kind of calm down. And then we can get right to the content today. We're also going to be talking a little bit about the Perfect Team Master Series that is coming up. That's coming up very quickly. It's actually coming up next week. And you know what? Let's go ahead and start talking about that, because the first Perfect Team Master Series of the Perfect Team 24 cycle is coming up next Saturday. Yes, indeed. Saturday, September 23rd. The tournament will begin at noon Eastern time that day, and it's going to be a fun one. We're going to have finals coverage on the Out of the Park Development's Twitch channel as well that day. That's going to be fun. I certainly be fitting it in with our county fair going on this coming weekend as well. But this is going to be fun times right here. First Perfect Team Master Series. This will feature the top 64 teams based on points accumulated by participants in the first 5 PTCSs. So we're going to have some PTCS champions in here. We're going to have some teams that placed really well in those PTCSs that are making it here to this tournament. It's going to be a fun time. Can't wait to see what's going to happen with that tournament. Oh man. So, like we've mentioned a little bit in the past, there are going to be 2 different Perfect Team Master Series tournaments, one for traditional tournaments and one for perfect drafts, because, we tried, kind of combining it all into one thing, and we kind of realized last year that it kind of wasn't getting the job done, so we decided to have kind of a different format for the Master Series, having a traditional tournament PTMS and a perfect draft PTMS. Now, the winners of each PTMS, which the placement in either one of those based on points from traditional PTCS standings, perfect draft PTCS standings. So if you made it to a perfect draft PTCS, you're getting points toward perfect draft PTMS, so on and so forth. The winners of each Perfect Team Master Series will move on to the Perfect Team World Championship, which we will talk about at a later date, where they will meet the 2 top performers from Perfect League based on the number of Perfect League championships as of Sunday, September 24th. That's right, September 24th will be the cutoff day for number of Perfect League championships in terms of making the Perfect Team World Championship. And it's going to be a bit of a bracketed tournament. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in due time, but that's going to be pretty fun right there. The winner will emerge as the Perfect Team World Champion. That's going to be a fun time right there. And like we mentioned last week when we previewed the Master Series, everyone who qualifies for the Perfect Team Master Series will receive a prize. They will receive a prize. So if you are one of those top 64, guess what? You're going home with a card at the very least. That's going to be some fun stuff. And if you finish higher and higher up the places, you also get the other rewards you would have gotten for finishing like 33rd through 64th, 9th through 16th, so on and so forth. So now that's something we're kind of carrying over from last year's PTMS as well. And there is a huge card at stake as well. And oh boy, I cannot wait to talk about these rewards. We're going to talk about them in a little bit. But I think a lot of people are wondering, it's coming up next Saturday. And I think a lot of people are wondering what these formats are going to be. So let's go ahead and talk about the formats for the Perfect Team Master Series. Oh boy. This is going to be a fun one right here, folks. So, first things first, let's talk about the tournament environment, where it's going to be held, all that good stuff. So, all tournaments will have a run environment of the year 2000 with a designated hitter. And you know what? We're going to give some of our Boston friends some love with this tournament. We're going to have the tournament take place at Fenway Park. That's going to be a fun place. I went there last year to catch a Tigers Red Sox game. Fantastic environment there. Beautiful sunset I caught too. That was a fantastic time. Great experience. Absolutely enjoyed it. So let's talk about the format for the traditional tournament Perfect Team Master Series. And that format is going to be a gold floor tournament with a 22-45 cap. Yes, we have a gold floor cap tournament for the traditional tournament PTMS. Going to be best of 7, obviously. 22-45 cap. Pretty good stuff right there. Which Fenway? There's 2 in the game. I will defer to Nicolino on that, and I will let you know which Fenway we're going to be at. I'm assuming it's the modern day Fenway, but I'm not 100% sure. Not 100% sure. We will get confirmation on that. But gold floor, 22-45 cap, best of 7 for the traditional tournament PTMS. Now, for the... Okay, I am getting a notification is going to be the historical Fenway Park. There is a historical Fenway Park in the game. I don't have the game open right now to double check which one it is, but it'll be the older Fenway Park that's going to be at. It's going to be the older edition of Fenway Park that is in the game. I will make that correction for any future slides talking about the Perfect Team Master Series. So there we go. All right. Probably park factors. Park factors is definitely the big difference between those two. And I'll get some more information on that once everything is done here with this stream. Alrighty. So for the perfect draft, Perfect Team Master Series, the format is going to be a gold to perfect historical draft with limited editions being options to draft from. Oh boy. So, gold to perfect historical draft with limited editions on. So everybody's going to get historical not historical packs, but historical cards in their draft to choose from. Limited editions can show up in these drafts. That's going to be pretty good. And I am getting word it is 1937 Fenway Park. I believe park factors, if you do check in your game under the ballpark section, you'll be able to find it there. I'll have that posted on the forums and all over the place once we're done with the afternoon stream here today. So, gold to perfect historical draft with limited editions that are on. Pretty cool stuff right there. Now, in terms of how the round distribution is going to break down, since this is kind of a new-ish perfect draft that we're going to be introducing for this PTMS, there will be 3 perfects each that you'll draft for each of the first 3 rounds. So that is 9 perfects in the first 3 rounds. So you're going to be choosing from, I believe you're going to be choosing from 12 different cards for each of these rounds. I think. I will have to double check with Nico on that. But 3 perfects each for the first 3 rounds. Then in round 4, it's going to be 1 high diamond. Then in round 5, it's going to be a couple of high diamonds. Then you get to low diamonds in round 6. You're going to choose 2 of those. And then in round 7, it's going to be 1 low diamond you're going to be choosing from. In round 8, you're going to be choosing 1 high gold card. So anything 85 and above. And yes, they are out of 12 cards. They are out of 12 cards. Perfect. Yep, so you have 12 cards to choose from in every round with this. So 1 high gold in round 8, then you're going to be choosing 2 high golds in rounds 9 and 10. And then for rounds 11 through 13, you'll be choosing 2 low gold cards in each of those rounds. So anything 84 overall and below will be chosen in rounds 11 through 13. So pretty cool stuff right there with this Perfect Draft PTMS. This is not a rocking chair tournament. This is all historical. All historical cards. There are no live cards in this tournament. Pretty cool stuff. Alrighty, so let's move on to talk about some of the prizes, to all the prizes pretty much, that we're going to be playing for with this Perfect Team Master Series. And our first one, for those who enter the tournament, even if they get eliminated in the first round, they will be getting this prize, is going to be 83 overall left fielder from the LA Dodgers. It will be Tommy Davis. 83 overall Tommy Davis, 95 BABIP, 73 power, 88 avoid K, 110 contact, 90 gap power, and 54 on the eye. Look at the splits against lefties here, folks, because this is something else. 109 BABIP, 80 power, 96 avoid K, 127 contact, 103 gap power, and 60 on the eye. Tommy Davis was always a masher against lefties, and that is reflected here. He can play left field. He can play a little bit of center field. He can also play a little bit of third base if you want to here. 90 range, 88 error, and 82 arm in the outfield. Then on the infield, you have 49 range, 35 error, 52 arm, and 37 on the turn double play. Speed of 75, stealing of 80, and base running of a 97. And this is the peak Tommy Davis right here. Peak Tommy Davis had a very kind of a solid career, all things considered. From 1959 to 1976, he hit 294, 329, 405, 153 career homers, 1,052 RBI. He was a 3-time All-Star, a 2-time batting champ, and that was mainly during the early parts of his career. He had batting titles for 2 straight years, 1962 and 1963. Pretty cool stuff right there. And he won the 1963 World Series with the LA Dodgers when he hit 326 that year. In 1962, though, 1962 might have been his best season of all time. And this was at age 23. So when you hear these stats, think of how young he was at this time. He led in hits with 230 hits. Had a 346 batting average and a 153 RBI. 153 RBI. That is still the Dodgers' single season RBI record. Awesome stuff right there for Tommy Davis, the 33rd through 64th place reward for the Perfect Team Master Series. Let's move on. So if you win round 1, but you get eliminated in round 2. So if you make it to round 2, you get eliminated. Darn, you're going to get Tommy Davis, and you're also going to get our next player. The 17th through 32nd place reward is going to be 89 overall starting pitcher, It's a lefty, I do believe. Yes, it is a lefty. Frank Killen. Frank Killen, 90 stuff, 103 movement, 102 homer rating, pitcher BABIP of 65, and control of 103. Frank Killen, mainly a Pittsburgh guy. Played in the dead ball era. Does have a little bit of, not really much of reverse splits, actually. He is a lefty, a lot better against lefties than he is against righties. Against lefties, though, great stuff, great movement, great homer rating. The pitcher BABIP, though, is going to be a little bit of an issue. I mean, he did give up a career BABIP of about a 298, so it wasn't great, all things considered. But good control, won't give up a whole lot of homers. Really good stuff as well. This is I think a solid-ish kind of high gold pitcher here. Fastball, changeup, sinker combo. Plus he can hit a little bit. 56 contact, 51 power, 86 eye, and 56 on the sac bunt. Also, 54 on the hold runners, 105 on the stamina. Frank Killen, he didn't have a whole lot of years under his belt here. 1891 to 1900. Career record of 164 and 131 with a 3.78 ERA, a 108 ERA plus, so a little bit above average for his era when he pitched. He led the majors in wins twice, and I mean he led in wins here. All right, 1893 he had 36 wins. 36 and 14 record, a 3.64 ERA that year. And in 1896, he had 30 wins. And in that 1896 season, some fascinating numbers here. Started 50 games, played in 52 games overall, 44 complete games, 5 shutouts, and 432 and a third innings pitched. Those stats led all majors in those categories in 1896. And this guy could definitely go the distance. 253 career complete games in 300 games started. Pretty cool stuff right here. Frank Killen, 89 overall, is your 17th through 32nd place reward for Perfect Team Master Series. So, if you manage to get past round 2, make it to round 3, however you get eliminated, darn, you're still going to get some pretty darn good cards. You're going to get Killen. You're going to get Tommy Davis. And if you finish 9th through 16th, you're also going to get our next card. And that, my friends, is a legendary Colorado Rocky, early Colorado Rocky, mind you. And that is 94 overall, peak first baseman, Andres Galarraga. 94 overall, Andres Galarraga. 101 BABIP, 107 power, 75 avoid K, 121 contact, 107 gap, and 75 on the eye. And there's not a whole lot of splits here to talk about. Not a whole lot of splits to talk about here. Against lefties, he's got 107 BABIP, 109 power, 79 avoid K, 128 contact, 109 gap, and 82 on the eye. Against righties, he's got 99 BABIP, 106 power, 74 avoid K, 119 contact, 106 gap, and 72 on the eye. And defensively, not terrible. Over at first base, 54 range, 55 error, 61 arm, 57 on the turn double play. Not exactly elite defensive statistics, but pretty solid stuff for first base. Now, 63 speed, 81 stealing, 79 base running. That's pretty decent as well. Whew, boy, but man, this power, this contact, the gap power, fantastic stuff for this Andres Galarraga. For Galarraga in his career, he played from 1985 all the way up to 2004, darn near 20 years in the big leagues. Hit 288, 347, 499 with 399 career homers, 1,425 RBI. He was a 5-time All-Star, won the Gold Glove Award a couple of times. People forget Andres Galarraga won a couple of Gold Gloves. How deserved they might be, kind of up to y'all, but he did so in 89 and 90 when he was with Montreal. But I think a lot of people, some people remember him from Montreal, but some people remember him for his Colorado years, where he was absolutely tearing the cover off the ball. Now, a lot of people are going to say, pre-Humidor Coors. And they may or may not have a point about that. But hitting 370 in 1993, winning the batting title, nothing to shake a stick at, if you ask me. He led the National League in strikeouts, however, 4 times in his career, 3 of them with Montreal, once with Colorado. Led an RBI a couple of times with Colorado in 96 and 97, and he was a 1996 NL home run champ, hitting 47 dingers with 150 RBI. Still a fun player right here. Andres Galarraga, 94 overall, is your 9th through 16th place reward. Moving on to 5th through 8th place. So, if you finish 5th through 8th place in Perfect Team Master Series, you're going to get Tommy Davis. You're going to get Frank Killen. You're going to get Andres Galarraga, and you're going to get our next card. And that, my friends, is 99 overall, peak right fielder from the Atlanta Braves. It is David Justice. Ooh, boy, David Justice. Look at this bat right here. 91 BABIP, 103 power, 89 avoid K, 118 contact, 91 gap, and 112 on the eye. Very good against righties here as a left-handed hitter. 92 BABIP, 103 power, 90 avoid K, 119 contact, 92 gap, and 116 on the eye. He's not bad against lefties either. 88 BABIP, 101 power, 87 avoid K, 114 contact, 87 gap, and 100 on the eye. He can play first base. He can play left field. He can play right field. And he's got some pretty good range for a corner outfielder here. 92 range with 67 error, 69 on the arm. So not great error rings, not a great arm in the outfield. Might be, maybe better suited for left field potentially. But this is one heck of a bat right here. Are the Yankees paying him to play against them? Oh man, David Justice, he had a solid career. David Justice had a quietly solid career. Well, I don't know how quiet it was, but 279, 378, 500 career slugging percentage, 305 homers, 1,017 RBI. Didn't really lead the majors in any categories in his career, but he did win the 1990 National League Rookie of the Year award with Atlanta when he hit 28 homers, 78 RBI during that season. He was a 3-time All-Star, a couple times with Atlanta, one time with Cleveland as well. A couple times he won Silver Slugger. He finished 5th in AL MVP in 1997, that first year that he was in Cleveland. He had 9 20 or more homer seasons. A couple of them were 40 homer seasons, including the 93 season with Atlanta, where he hit 40 and 120 RBI. Pretty solid year there. And 3 seasons of 100 or more RBI. 93, like we mentioned, 97, and also in 2000 between Cleveland and New York. Pretty cool stuff right there. David Justice peak card is the 5th through 8th place reward. Now, if you finish 3rd and 4th, you get Tommy Davis, you get Frank Killen, you get Andres Galarraga, you get David Justice, and you'll be getting our next card. 3rd and 4th place reward in Perfect Team Master Series will be 100 overall Phil Rizzuto from the New York Yankees. 107 BABIP, 45 power, 102 avoid K, 115 contact, 95 gap, and 100 on the eye. Solid hitter against both lefties and righties. And look at that defense at short. 108 range, 105 error, 106 arm, and 102 on the turn double play. Holy cow! Indeed. 82 speed, 83 stealing, 101 on the base running as well. 109 on the sack bunt. Those exclamation point bunts in the chat. 103 on the bunt for hit as well. Solid contact hitting shortstop with some great defense for Phil Rizzuto. And that was kind of his calling card when it came to his career. Hit just 273, 351, 355 during his career. 38 homers, 563 RBI, but the defense was his calling card. He led the American League in defensive wins above replacement 3 times in his career, never had a negative defensive WAR season, ever. So this guy, defensive wizard at short, had his 1,217 career double plays turn. And by the time of his retirement in 1956, that was ranked 2nd all time. Great stuff there. He was a 1950 AL MVP, 5-time All-Star, 7-time World Series champ. So there you go. Phil Rizzuto, your 3rd and 4th place prize. Let's talk 2nd place. If you make it to the finals and you do not win it, darn, but you are going to go home with Tommy Davis, Frank Killen, Andres Galarraga, David Justice, Phil Rizzuto, and 100 overall peak catcher, Gabby Hartnett from the Chicago Cubs. 96 BABIP, 117 power, 71 avoid K, 118 contact, 106 gap, and 101 on the eye. Whoo, baby. If you want a powerful catcher, this is it right here. Against righties, 97 BABIP, 118 power, 70 avoid K, 119 contact, 107 gap, 104 on the eye. But man, oh man, look at that defense over there. Look at the defense over on the left side of your screen. 102 catcher ability, 104 on the catcher arm. Some fantastic defense here for Gabby Hartnett. Gabby Hartnett, a solid hitter in his career. One of the more prolific hitting catchers in his era. 1922 to 1941. This is like early live ball era stuff here. 1922 to 1941, he hit 297, 370, 489 with 236 homers, 1,179 RBI. He was a 1935 National League MVP, 6-time All-Star. He led Major League Baseball in caught stealing percentage 6 times. This is crazy. He had a career 56% caught stealing percentage. And some of those caught stealing numbers are just absolutely bonkers to even hear about today. I mean, we're talking, he had years where he threw out 60% of base stealers. 61% in 26, 67% in 28, 60% in 31, 64% in 1932. Those all led Major League Baseball in those categories. And he became the first MLB catcher in history to hit more than 20 homers in a year when he did so in 1925. Pretty awesome stuff for Gabby Hartnett. He is in Perfect Team 24 as the PTMS 2nd place reward. All right, folks. If you win the Perfect Team Master Series and make it to the Perfect Team World Championship, you're not just getting Tommy Davis. You're not just getting Frank Killen. You're not just getting Andres Galarraga. You're not just getting David Justice. You're not just getting Phil Rizzuto. You're not just getting Gabby Hartnett. You are also getting a fantastic champion reward prize. And that prize comes to us. Well, I think if you go back a little bit, and we talked a little bit about the environment of where the PTMS was going to be held, I think a lot of people might have figured out where we're going with this. And that, my friends, is 100 overall right-handed starting pitcher from the Boston Red Sox. It is Pedro Martinez. 131 stuff, 125 movement, 120 homer rating, 112 pitcher BABIP, 112 control. Ladies and gentlemen, this is pretty much the best looking pitcher in the game right now. This is what the people in the PTMS are gonna be playing for. 133 stuff, 128 movement, 123 homer, 114 pitcher BABIP, 114 control against righties. That movement, that pitcher BABIP, the stamina's good, the hold runners is good, fastball, slider, curveball, cutter, and an insane circle change of 112. Whew. I mean, what more can we say? Pedro Martinez, an absolute stud of a pitcher. One of the best pitchers of modern times. I mean, 1992 to 2009. He only lost 100 games during the regular season. Only lost 100 with 219 wins. 2.93 ERA, 10 strikeouts per 9. He was a 3-time Cy Young winner, including that amazing 2000 season. He finished top 4 other times in his career, made it to 8 All-Star games. He won an ERA title 5 times, a 1.74 ERA, and, well, won the ERA title 5 times. He had a 1.74 ERA and a .737 whip in that amazing 2000 season. And he reached 3,000 strikeouts in the 3rd fewest innings pitched of all time. I mean, what more is there to say about Pedro Martinez and his greatness? There's a lot we could say about him, but man, oh man, just look at his baseball reference page sometime, and it is just a fantastic look at one of the best pitchers of this modern era. So folks, your PTMS champion reward is Pedro Martinez. So there you go. Here's a look once again at your PTMS prizes here. Tommy Davis, Frank Killen, Andres Galarraga, David Justice, Gabby Hartnett, Phil Rizzuto, Pedro Martinez. Whew. Whew. Fantastic stuff here. Alrighty. So good luck to those participating in PTMS next Saturday. That's going to be a fun time. Can't wait to broadcast the finals of those. See how that will turn out. All right, folks, before we get into the content here today, we just mentioned a little bit about Baseball Reference. So, Baseball Reference, always a fun tool, and they have a great little tool on it called StatHead. That's right, StatHead. Then you can use code 23 OOTP25 for $25 off an annual baseball or all sports subscription to one of the best statistical services that is out there right now. $25 off, code 23 OOTP25, save $25. Yeah, as seen on This Week in Perfect Team. Exactly. Exactly. Whew, buddy. That's some fun stuff right here. And I mean, it's not just for baseball. You can use it for hockey. You can use it for football. You can use it for basketball. So many uses for this fantastic tool. I mean, heck, you can look up like how many homers someone like the top home run hitters above a certain age. It'll show you that. That's fantastic. So there you go. Stat Baseball, powered by Baseball Reference. Save $25 off an annual baseball or all sports subscription with that code 23OOTP25. Offer expires December 31st of this year. Alrighty. Let's move on to our content here today. And ladies and gentlemen, it is the Roberto Clemente collection. Yes, we are celebrating the great Roberto Clemente with cards based on his career. We're going to talk a little bit about those a little bit later, but we're going to start off today, by talking about some famous Pittsburgh Pirates of the era and some notable Puerto Rican players, because Clemente himself came from Puerto Rico. Probably the best Puerto Rican player of all time, if not the best Puerto Rican player of all time. So let's start out by, we're going to show off a few of the Puerto Rican players that are in this set. Puerto Rican / Pirates of the era players that are in this set. We're going to have 16 of them in total. They're going to be in packs. We're going to show you about 10 of them here. So let's go ahead and start off by talking about, one of the best defensive catchers that we have in this particular level of card. So, let's start out with 40 overall from the 2012 Tampa Bay Rays. It is 40 overall, Jose Molina. We're not going to talk about the bat because Jose Molina could never hit, but he can play some catcher defense like no other. 109 on the catcher ability and 89 catcher arm for a 40 overall catcher. Folks, if you are looking for a cap god at catcher, this is it. Right here. 109 catcher ability, 89 arm. I have a feeling this is going to be a very valuable card in not just iron tournaments, but in cap tournaments all around the game right here. Whew, boy. But if we do want to talk a little bit about the bat, he's a little bit better against righties than he is against lefties. 45 BABIP, 54 power, 41 avoid K, 45 contact, 44 gap, 45 on the eye. So this is always the trade-off when you have a guy like this, especially down here. You know, you're not going to get much hitting out of him, but you are going to get some good catcher defense out of him. And Jose Molina, his 2012, definitely one of the better years of his career, if not the best year of his career. 223, 286, 355 on the slash line. Had 8 homers that year, 32 RBI, 79 on the OPS. 1.1 WAR, his best total of his career. He was a career high in homers, RBI, most games played in his career this year in 2012. 102 games played that year. And of course, as y'all know, he's a brother of Yadier and Benji Molina. Because, you know, the Molina catching brothers, arguably the best brother duo in terms of catching ever in baseball. So there you go. Jose Molina and his awesome catcher stuff is in Perfect Team 24. So, speaking of the Molinas, we have another one. I promise you, it's not going to be all Molinas all the time, but this just so happened to happen. Benji Molina, 73 overall, peak catcher, is our next player in the set. 57 BABIP, 55 power, 91 avoid K, 71 contact, 53 gap, and 51 on the eye. But man, oh man, look at the splits against lefties here. This is absolutely incredible here. 85 BABIP, 83 power, 98 avoid K, 108 contact, 89 gap, and 63 on the eye. Now, against righties, the only real thing to really mention here is that 88 avoid K. Kind of stinks otherwise against righties. But against lefties, oh boy. This is a great platoon guy in the silver level. Great versus lefties. Not great versus righties. Definitely more of a platoon bat here. Plus, he's got some very good catcher ability here. 98 catcher ability, 98 on the catcher arm. That's pretty darn good right here. I don't know why he has outfield range, though. Because, I mean, he can't play the outfield. It would be funny to put him in the outfield. I will say that. But... And also, Benji Molina, speed demon, 2 speed, 1 stealing, 2 base running. I mean, we all remember his infamous triple when he was playing for Texas and they were playing in Boston. He had that big fly ball. I think it took a weird angle off maybe the Green Monster, I think, or at least off the far center field wall there. And it was a triple for the cycle, and he was rumbling, he was stumbling, and he got into that third base, baby. I mean, that's the Benji Molina highlight everyone remembers. Oh, man, Benji Molina, possibly, looking at his career, definitely one of the better hitting Molinas of all time. 274, 307, 411, 144 career homers, 711 RBI. He was a 2-time Gold Glover in his career, finished 4th in the 2000 American League Rookie of the Year vote, and he led the American League in caught stealing percentage twice, back-to-back actually, in 2002 and 2003. That was when he threw out 45% and 44% of base runners, or at least base stealers. That was pretty darn good right there. So there you go. Benji Molina, 73 overall from the LA Angels, is in perfect team 24. Alrighty. Benji Molina. I believe the year on the card is 2005. The year on the peak card is 2005, I believe. Alrighty, so there you go. Let's move on to our next player. And let's start talking a little bit about some non-Molinas. So let's go to 2001 for Cleveland. And that, my friends, brings us to 74 overall right fielder from Cleveland is Juan Gonzalez. 82 BABIP, 91 power, 69 avoid K, 99 contact, 82 gap, and 58 on the eye. Very good against lefties than he is against righties. 89 BABIP, 98 power, 74 avoid K, 108 contact, 74 gap, and 69 on the eye. Not as great against righties. 80 BABIP, 89 power, 67 avoid K, 96 contact, 85 gap, 54 on the eye. Right field, he can play that. He is also qualified to learn in left and center, but he does not have that on his stock, so something to keep in mind. 55 range, 75 error, and 75 on the outfield arm. Speed, stealing, and base running, not exactly great either. 35 speed, 33 stealing, 56 on the base running. 2001 season for Juan Gonzalez after let's just say an ill-fated 2000 in Detroit when the Tigers were trying to, hype up Comerica Park. Didn't quite work out. He went over to Cleveland, hit 325, 370, 590 with 35 homers, 140 RBI, and a 148 OPS plus. Kind of, continuing the year, kind of continuing his pretty good performances from the late 1990s there. Because, he had a down year in Detroit. A lot of people kind of blame Comerica Park for that. But when he got to Cleveland, back to 35 homers, back to over 100 RBI. He was an all-star. He was a Silver Slugger, finished 5th in AL MVP voting, actually led Major League Baseball in sac flies that year with 16. This was actually the final year of his career where he had 30 or more homers with that 35 total right there. So pretty good stuff for Juan Gonzalez, and he is in. Perfect team. 24. All right, next up, let's stay in the 2000s here for a little bit. Let's go a couple years forward. Talk about 2003. The Yankees were in the World Series, and a little team that could, the Florida Marlins, were in that World Series. And the Marlins, they had Miguel Cabrera on that team. They had Josh Beckett on that team. But one guy on that team actually because of some stuff that happened during the 03 season, had an injury at the time, I do believe, allowed Miguel Cabrera to be called up for that 2003 run. And that, my friends, is 79 overall, third baseman from the 2003 Florida Marlins. It is Mike Lowell. Mike Lowell, 67 BABIP, 77 power, 76 avoid K, 83 contact, 80 gap power, and 83 I. Now, the big thing to mention here, look at those splits right there. 62 BABIP against lefties. We're going to talk about the lefty splits here. 96 power, 86 avoid K, 90 contact, 94 gap, and 80 on the eye. Now, against righties, it's not bad, but it's also not great either. 69 BABIP, 71 power, 72 avoid K, 81 contact, 76 gap, 84 on the eye. Now, when you compare it to the lefty splits, it's not that great, but it's still kind of, a bit solid all around, all things considered. Defensively, 68 range, 91 error, 81 arm, 79 on the turn double play, 32 speed, 64 stealing, 47 on the base running. 2003 season for Mike Lowell. Outside of that fantastic 2007 season that he had, this was the best year of his career. 276, 350, 530 with 32 homers, 105 RBI, and a 128 OPS plus. And he only played in 130 games that year. He had an injury, I believe, late-ish in the season or something like that. And that's when the Marlins called up Miguel Cabrera, and the legend of Miguel Cabrera began. He was an all-star. He was a Silver Slugger this year. Finished 11th in National League MVP voting, and he had a career high in homers and OPS plus during that year. Better than his 07 season, all things considered, in terms of those. Now, he did have more RBI in that 07 season, but more homers, better OPS. Pretty good stuff right here for Mike Lowell, and he is in. Perfect team. 24. So there's Mike Lowell. Now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about some of the Pirates here. Some of the Pittsburgh Pirates of this particular era, because there are some really great ones that play alongside Roberto Clemente during his career. I'm going to talk about a couple of them here at the gold level. And our first one that we're going to talk about comes to us from the 1978 edition of the Pittsburgh Pirates. And that will be 80 overall first baseman, Willie Stargell. Willie Stargell, 80 BABIP, 114 power, 48 avoid K, 96 contact, 60 gap power, and 91 on the eye. Big power bat, and not really a whole lot else. Against righties, he's got 86 BABIP, 120 power, 49 avoid K, 103 contact, 66 gap, and 90 on the eye. Now, he still has some good power, some good eye against lefties, but, you know, you're going to lose about 25 points in BABIP, you're going to lose a few points in avoid K, you're going to lose about 24 points in gap power. Defensively, not great, but then again, Willie Stargell, not exactly, you know, wasn't exactly the greatest defensive first baseman of all time. 29 range, 31 error, 35 arm, 31 on the turn double play, 24 speed, 24 stealing, 34 on the base running. 1978 year for Willie Stargell. He did play with Roberto Clemente up until, you know, 1972. But he was a fixture with the Pirates for many, many years. This was kind of an older version of Willie Stargell here. 295, 382, 567, 28 homers, 97 RBI, and a 158 OPS plus. He was an all-star this year, finished 9th in National League MVP at 38 years old. So this was a renaissance year for Willie Stargell. I mean, Willie Stargell had some really great seasons even before then. Like, we're talking like 48 homers in 71, 44 of them in 73. But this was kind of, he was kind of consistent a little bit. You know, he had 301 average in 74, 295 in 1975, dipped down to 257 in 76, 274 in 77 in just 63 games. Then 1978, I guess you could call this a little bit of a renaissance season for the 38-year-old. 295 average, 28 homers, 97 RBI. Very solid year. And those 28 homers, second among 35-year-olds in home runs in the 1978 season. Pretty cool stuff there. And this was also the year, if you remember those hats that the Pittsburgh Pirates wore during the We Are Family years. This was the first year that Stargell originated those Stargell stars. So pretty cool stuff right here for Willie Stargell. Let me see here. Trying to look at Wikipedia here. So pretty cool stuff right here. Yeah, and Stargell actually called the 1978 team his favorite team ever and predicted that the Pirates would win the World Series in 1979. Yep, and those Stargell stars were there on their caps after maybe a nice play or a really good game that they had. So awesome, awesome stuff. Willie Stargell, 80 overall in Perfect Team 24. All right, next up, let's talk about a pitcher from those 1960s Pirates teams, which had some very solid pitchers and also some solid names on this roster. And that, my friends, definitely describes our next card. Unfortunately, his career here kind of got tragically cut short as well. This guy, 1968, right-handed starting pitcher, Bob Moose. Bob Moose, 68 stuff, 109 movement, 103 homer, 86 BABIP, and 79 control. Very much better against righties than he is against lefties. 71 stuff, 123 movement, 114 homer rating, 91 pitcher BABIP, 88 on the control. 82 stamina, 68 on the hold runners as well. Fastball, slider, screwball, changeup, and knuckle curve on the combo here. Bob Moose, 1968 season, doesn't look great when you look at the win-loss record. 8-12 record, but a 2.74 ERA and a 2.06 FIP, which is the lowest of his fairly short career. Now, this was his first full season in MLB, made 22 starts during the season. Actually started out the season as a reliever, if I recall correctly. Just kind of looking at his game logs here. Became a starting pitcher kind of early in the year. Was kind of shifted between the bullpen and the rotation a little bit, but but found a spot in the rotation kind of right after. Made 22 starts during the year. His .264 BABIP against, the lowest amount in his career. Now, the 8-12 record he had during that 68 season possibly could have been contributed to his run support they got. And he did not get a whole lot of run support in his starts. Averaged just a little bit over 2.5 runs of support per start. Not exactly great, but he did pitch very, very well despite the win-loss record. I mean, .274 ERA during the 68 season. That's about a 106 ERA plus. So just a little bit above league average there. Awesome stuff here for Bob Moose. 1968, he is in Perfect Team 24. Alrighty. Next up, let's talk about some diamond cards here, folks. Got a few diamond cards to show off before we get to the Clementes. And our first one comes to us from the Milwaukee Brewers of those 1970s. And this has been a sneaky good power hitter in Perfect Team that a lot of people kind of overlook sometimes. And that, my friends, is 94 overall right fielder from the Milwaukee Brewers. It is Sixto Lezcano. Sixto Lezcano, 87 BABIP, 88 power, 60 avoid K, 98 contact, 85 gap, and 95 on the eye. Look at the splits against lefties right here. 94 BABIP, 96 power, 77 avoid K, 113 contact, 92 gap, and 111 on the eye. And he can play some pretty good defense in the outfield too. He can play left field, he can play right field, 88 range, 91 error, 84 on the outfield arm. Pretty cool stuff right there. 52 speed, 60 stealing, and 67 on the base running. Sixto Lezcano, 271, 360, 440 in his career with 148 career homers, 591 RBI, played for Milwaukee, played a little bit for San Diego as well. He was a Gold Glover as well, finished 15th in the American League MVP voting in 1979. Probably one of the only real big accolades he ever received in terms of like notable awards and things like that. That 1979 season, just a fantastic year. He hit 28 homers, 101 RBI that year, 321 average. Best season of his career right there. And finished just 15th in AL MVP. Sixto Lezcano, also the only player in Major League history to hit a grand slam on opening day more than one time. More than one time. Pretty awesome stuff there. Now, when did he do that, though? That's the big question. And that answer, 1978 and 1980. He hit a grand slam on opening day. Only player to do so twice. Pretty cool stuff. Now, after that 1980 season, he was part of a blockbuster 7-player trade with the St. Louis Cardinals, being one of 4 players traded in exchange for some guys named Raleigh Fingers, Pete Vukovich, and Ted Simmons. So he was a very valuable player for the Brewers. Kind of used him to get Raleigh Fingers, Ted Simmons, which were pretty good players in those Milwaukee lineups of the 1980s, helped them to a World Series title. So there you go. Sixto Lezcano, 94 overall from the Milwaukee Brewers, is in Perfect Team 24. Alrighty, next up. Oh man, we cannot talk about the Pittsburgh Pirates of the 1970s. We can't talk about the Pittsburgh Pirates in the 1970s, obviously without talking about Roberto Clemente, but we also can't talk about them without this next guy. Because, oh boy, this guy was one heck of a story. And that, my friends, is 96 overall, right-handed starter, Doc Ellis. Doc Ellis, 72 stuff, 110 movement, 104 homer rating, 87 pitcher BABIP, 86 on the control. Some interesting splits here. Against lefties, he's got 68 stuff, 116 movement, 108 homer rating, 82 pitcher BABIP, and 85 control. And then against righties, he's got 76 stuff, 106 movement, 101 homer rating, 92 pitcher BABIP, and 87 control. 85 stamina, 58 on the hold runners. He's got a slider, he's got a curveball, he's got a changeup, and he's got a sinker. Doc Ellis pitched from 1968 to 1979, mainly for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He had a couple of years in New York. He had some time in Texas, Oakland, the Mets as well for 17 games in 1979. 138, 119 career record, a 3.46 ERA, just 4.8 strikeouts per 9 during that time. Led the National League in homers per 9 for a couple of years, 1972 and 1973, where he gave up just 0.3 homers per 9. 6 homers in 1972, 7 homers total in 1973. Had double-digit wins 8 times in his career. And they were 1969, 1970, 71, 72, 73, 74, 76, 77 as well. Pretty cool stuff there. But, you can't talk about Doc Ellis without talking about the no-hitter, all right? And, of course, there are some people that still kind of, deny the claim that he did so using an illegal substance. But there are some people who do corroborate that story. So there's that. There's actually some fantastic documentation on this, some fantastic stories out there. Highly recommend you look at that. But, Doc Ellis was, he did have a bit of a substance abuse problem during his career. And he acknowledged that after his retirement, he hadn't pitched without the use of drugs. So after going into treatment, after his retirement, Ellis remained sober and he devoted the remainder of his life to counseling others with substance use disorder in treatment centers and prisons throughout his retirement. So that's some pretty good stuff right there. Some pretty good humanitarian stuff right there for Doc Ellis after retirement. So he might be known for the LSD no-hitter, but he can also be known a little bit for how he used those experiences after retirement to help those who might have been going through the same thing he did. So there you go. Doc Ellis, 96 overall, in Perfect Team 24. All right, couple of more diamonds to talk about. Let's go back to Puerto Rico. And I think y'all knew that this guy was coming eventually. I mean, when you talk about Puerto Rico and talk about some of the greatest players to ever come out of Puerto Rico, you can't talk about that without Roberto Clemente, but you also can't talk about players that came out of Puerto Rico without talking about this next guy. We've had 2 of his brothers already today. Here he is, 97 overall catcher from the 2013 St. Louis Cardinals. It is Yadier Molina. 85 BABIP, 58 power, 94 avoid K, 97 contact, 106 gap, 37 I. But man, oh man, take a look at the defense right here. 104 catcher ability, 102 catcher arm. Whew. Pretty good stuff right here for Yadier Molina. A little bit better against lefties than he is against righties at the plate. 87 BABIP, 64 power, 90 avoid K, 100 contact, 108 gap, and 39 on the eye. Against righties, there's some splits in there, but not some big splits in there. 84 BABIP, 56 power, 95 avoid K, 96 contact, 106 gap, 36 on the eye. 319, 359, 477 during Yadier Molina's career. 12, well, at least in 2013, let's just say. 12 homers, 80 RBI, and a 129 OPS plus. Arguably one of the better offensive years of his career. Maybe not the best offensive season of his career. That might go to a year like 2012, where he had like 12 stolen bases, 22 homers, 76 RBI. But this was still a very solid year all around for Yadier Molina. 4.4 offensive wins above replacement, 2.7 defensive wins above replacement, third highest in his career in defensive wins above replacement. He finished third in National League MVP, his highest finish, by the way, of his career. He was an All-Star, he was a Gold Glover, won a Silver Slugger as well. The 3.2 WAR he accumulated overall, second highest in his career. 338 BABIP during this season. 338 BABIP, highest of his career. Now, the dude was a gap hitting machine as well. 44 doubles. 44 doubles in 2013. And I want to try to put this in a little bit of context here. So let's use StatHead here for a little bit, if I can get into it in a timely manner. I want to see how many catchers have hit 40 doubles in the decade of the 2010s. I don't think it's a whole lot. At least how many individual seasons there might have been. And StatHead is going slow. I think there's a lot of people taking us up on that offer there. But still a very good season for Yadier Molina. Those 44 doubles, most in Major League Baseball among catchers since the 1996 season. Awesome stuff right here. Yadier Molina, 2013 St. Louis Cardinals, is in Perfect Team 24. All right, one more card before we start talking about Roberto Clemente. Let's go over to first base for our next card. And if you want to talk about power hitting first baseman in the 1990s, some of the early 2000s, one of the better ones to come out of Puerto Rico is this guy. Ladies and gentlemen, peak card from the Toronto Blue Jays, 97 overall, Carlos Delgado. Carlos Delgado, 90 BABIP, 101 power, 71 avoid K, 109 contact, 112 gap, and 117 on the eye. This guy's a little bit better against righties than he is against lefties. 90 BABIP, 106 power, 74 avoid K, 111 contact, 108 gap, 122 on the eye. However, he has a little bit more BABIP against lefties as well. Less power, less avoid K, kind of less around the board except for gap power. But BABIP of 92 versus a BABIP of 90, lefties versus righties, pretty interesting stuff there. Defensively, not the greatest. 44 range, 40 error, 43 arm, and 44 on the turn double play. Carlos Delgado, a phenomenal career. 16 years in the big leagues from 93 to 09. 280, 383, 546 on his career slash line, 473 homers, 1,512 RBI. He was a two-time All-Star, three-time Silver Slugger during his career. He led Major League Baseball in RBI in 2003, and something I found very fascinating, 10 straight years he had 30 or more home runs. Pretty awesome stuff for Carlos Delgado right there. I mean, those 30 homers coming between 1997 and 2006. And he had a few 40 homer seasons in that too. 44 in 1999, 41 of them in 2000, 42 of them in that 03 season. Pretty cool stuff. And he holds the major league record, still does, for most home runs hit by a Puerto Rican. 473 home runs. So there you go. Carlos Delgado, 97 overall peak card in Perfect Team 24. Alrighty, so there's a look at some of the cards that are in today's set. Here's the rest of them. There's 16 in total in today's set. The other 6, Dave Euste from the 1972 Pirates. Al Oliver, peak card from the Pirates. 81 overall, Jorge Posada from the 2000 New York Yankees. Then you got Javier Vasquez from the 01 Montreal Expos. Bill Verdon, who was Roberto Clemente's manager in Pittsburgh. 73 overall. He's in this set. And then we have Steve Blass from the 1968 Pittsburgh Pirates. 71 overall in this set. So 16 packable cards in total from the Roberto Clemente set. Whoa, we are dropping frames. We should be good to go now. Alrighty. So there you go. The other 6 in the set right there. Not bad, not bad, not bad at all. So now, let's talk about the man, the myth, the legend, the great Roberto Clemente. Roberto Clemente, 3,000 career hits, some fantastic seasons in his career. Played from 55 all the way up to 1972. Prolific gap hitter. He had quite a few doubles. He had like 6 straight years of 10 or more triples. Won a batting title 4 times. And he was a great humanitarian as well. And unfortunately passed away during one of those efforts after the 1972 season. And Major League Baseball, has their humanitarian award, their annual humanitarian award, named after him. And that's a really great thing. That is a really great thing. So let's go ahead and talk about Roberto Clemente. And we're going to have cards based on his career. Now, we've been kind of experimenting a little bit with some of these cards because, there are missions that give you some. There are some that are in packs. There's only going to be one of these cards that is going to be in packs, and that is going to be the gold card of this collection. The other cards, iron, bronze, silver, diamond, and perfect, you'll be earning those through missions. And we're going to talk a little bit about those reward cards here, but the majority of the Roberto Clemente cards are going to be earned through missions here. So let's go ahead and talk about our first Roberto Clemente card. It's going to be the iron card, which will be, actually, I need to do something just really quickly here. Hang on a minute. All right, so I forgot to get the correct slides up on this, but this one, our first card, the iron card, is going to be coming from an outfield cannons mission. And here is the iron Roberto Clemente. 87 BABIP, 40 power, 74 avoid K, 87 contact, 67 gap power, 30 on the eye. Against lefties, he has 89 BABIP, 45 power, 84 avoid K, 93 contact, 69 gap, and 28 on the eye. Kind of decent against righties as well. 87 BABIP, 38 power, 70 avoid K, 85 contact, 67 gap, 31 on the eye. Very good defensively as well. 92 range in right field. That's pretty high up there for an iron card. 47 error, 87 on the outfield arm. 1959 season was kind of a bit of a down year for Roberto Clemente statistically. Played in only 105 games that year, hit 296, 322, 396, 4 homers on the year. This was the last year that he hit single-digit home runs. So he was just kind of, getting acclimated in his first few years. Came up in 1955 at the age of 20. Had a few years, 56, 57, 58. Wasn't really a great power hitter during his early years. Only hit like, gosh, how many homers did he hit? 26 during those first 5 years in the big leagues. Just 26 homers, averaging just 5 a year. Had 4 during this particular year. Hit 296, 322, 396, 92 OPS plus. Only played in 105 games due to an elbow injury that he suffered during the year. Of course, Roberto Clemente, not the most patient hitter in the world, only drew 15 walks this year. Second lowest total in his career. Just 15 of them. But Roberto Clemente, this is not a bad hitting card for an iron, I would imagine. Yeah, kind of a bit of a line drive kind of guy. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. He did have 17 doubles. He did have 128 hits, 60 runs scored. Let's see. Defensively, he was 1.4 offensive WAR, 0.9 defensive WAR. So he wasn't terrible offensively and defensively, but wasn't the elite Roberto Clemente that we all know and love. So there you go. 1959, Roberto Clemente is the reward for the outfield cannons mission. Why take a pitch when you can hit everything? Exactly. All right, our next Roberto Clemente is going to be the bronze Roberto Clemente, and that is going to be the reward, and this one is going to be the reward for Roberto Clemente Teammates 1. There's going to be a couple of Teammates missions. Number 1 is going to get you this bronze card. 91 BABIP, 43 power, 68 avoid K, 88 contact, 94 gap power, and 13 on the eye. Now, this is still kind of an early Roberto Clemente. Wasn't quite the power hitter he was, so that's why you're only going to get like 43 power out of this, but you're going to get huge amounts of BABIP here. Huge amounts of BABIP. 96 BABIP against lefties, 89 against righties. Some very, very close splits for this particular Roberto Clemente card. Now, this one plays all 3 outfield positions. Very interesting here. 81 range, 51 error, 108 on the outfield arm. He's mainly a right fielder. He can play center field fully trained. He is partially trained in left field, can get up to a 105 rating up in left field. 1956 season for Roberto Clemente, 311, 330, 431, 7 homers. So this was the most of those early years. 60 RBI and a 106 OPS plus. Now, we talked about a little bit on the last slide about he had only 15 walks. This year, he only had 13. 13 walks in 572 play appearances. Not exactly great. But he did finish 3rd in the National League in batting average that year. And one of the big highlights of that 1956 season, he hit an inside the park grand slam against the Chicago Cubs during a game in July. And I know we talk a little bit about his plate discipline and how it wasn't really great all the time. He once went 51 straight games during the 1956 season without drawing a walk. Not great, but this guy is going to have some big BABIP. He's going to have some good gap power for you. Might strike out a little bit. That kind of comes a little bit with the territory. But pretty good stuff here for Roberto Clemente. Also, 56 speed, 53 stealing, 75 on the base running, 72 on the sac bunt, 67 on the bunt for hit. So there you go. 1956, Roberto Clemente, 66 overall from the Pittsburgh Pirates in Perfect Team 24. All right, next up, let's go to the silver Roberto Clemente, and let's go into the 1960s, because we spent a little bit of time here in the 1950s already. Let's talk about the 1960s. And this card is going to be the mission reward for the Puerto Rican Connection mission that is going to be released today. 77 overall, Roberto Clemente can only play right field, but man, oh man, look at that defense. 95 range, 84 error, 106 on the outfield arm. Now, this is still kind of the same profile that we've had for the last couple of cards. Big BABIP, not a lot of power. 100 BABIP, 44 power, 73 avoid K, 98 contact, 86 gap, 50 on the eye. Now, has a little bit better BABIP against righties during this year than he does against lefties, a little bit better power against righties as a right-handed hitter, and a little bit more eye against righties as well. His eye made it up to a 50. Heck yeah. Avoid K, however, is a little bit better against lefties at 91 versus a 67 against righties. He's got 98 contact overall against both sides. 1 point gap in gap power between lefties and righties here as well. 58 speed, 61 stealing, 81 on the base running. And this was one of those years where Roberto Clemente really showed his defensive prowess. He had 19 outfield assists during the year, 4th highest total of his career. So it wasn't his best, but he definitely showed he had the arm of a champion here. 312, 352, 454 on the slash line, 10 homers, 74 RBI, and a 114 OPS plus. He made both All-Star games during the 1962 season, won a Gold Glove, finished 17th in MVP voting. It was actually the 3rd straight year they received some MVP votes. Pretty cool stuff. Finished 8th in the National League in batting average during that year with that 312 mark. Now, he only had 168 hits during the year, 95 runs scored, 28 doubles, which wasn't bad, but certainly compared to like maybe his 1961 where he had 30, was the 2nd highest total of his career up to that point. So there you go. 1962, Roberto Clemente, 3.9 wins above replacement, 2.3 offensive WAR, 1.0 defensive wins above replacement. So there you go. Silver Roberto Clemente, the mission reward for the Puerto Rican connection in Perfect Team 24. All right, next up, let's go to the gold card, the lone packable Roberto Clemente card that will be available in packs after today's stream. And here he is, 87 overall from the 1961 Pittsburgh Pirates. So this is the only packable card of the Roberto Clementes we are showing off that will be in packs today. 96 BABIP, 78 power, 84 avoid K, 110 contact, 91 gap, and 44 on the eye. Some pretty even-ish splits here. Still a little bit better toward lefties, but he has some good qualities against righties. 97 BABIP against lefties, 84 power, 87 avoid K, 115 contact, 96 gap, 44 on the eye. Against righties, he's got 95 BABIP, 76 power, 83 avoid K, 109 contact, 89 gap, and 42 on the eye. Look at the defense, though. Once again, fantastic defender. 92 range, 77 error, and 125 on the arm. Man. And 1961, definitely one of the best hitting years of his career, possibly right behind the 1967 season, but this was the first time that he hit 20 or more homers in a year. Hit 351, 390, 559, 23 homers, 89 RBI, 30 doubles, 10 triples during the year, made both All-Star games, won a Gold Glove, finished 4th in National League MVP. That was his highest finish to date, or at least to this point in MVP voting. He was a National League batting champ in the 1961 season, the first of 4 batting titles he had. And that 125 arm, well, that's because he had 27 outfield assists, which led all National League outfielders. Pretty cool stuff right there. Roberto Clemente from the 1961 Pirates, the lone packable card of this collection of the Clementes in Perfect Team 24. All right, the diamond card. The diamond card for Roberto Clemente. This is going to be awarded if you finish Roberto Clemente Teammates 2 mission. Let's take a look at that diamond card. And oh boy, now we're getting into some power here. Now we're getting into some power. 96 BABIP, 92 power, 59 avoid K, 106 contact, 107 gap, 64 on the eye. Some very good splits against lefties. Some very good splits against lefties. 94 BABIP, 102 power, 81 avoid K, 116 contact, 106 gap power, and 89 on the eye. 89 eye. That is very high eye rating there for a Roberto Clemente. Yep, that is correct. The gold is not a mission card, but the diamond is. Against righties, he's got 96 BABIP, 89 power, 52 avoid K, 102 contact, 107 gap, 56 on the eye. 99 range, 67 error, and 105 arm in the outfield. 46 speed, 52 stealing, and 90 on the base running. 1966 season, another solid year for Roberto Clemente. 317, 360, 536 with 29 homers, 119 RBI, and a 146 OPS plus. This was his MVP year, 1966. His first and only MVP award, played in 154 games that year, 31 doubles, 11 triples as well, had 7 stolen bases as well, had a career high in homers and RBI, and this was tied for the second best wins above replacement of his career. This 1966 season, 8.2 wins above replacement. His only better season was 1967 when he had 9 wins above replacement with 8.3 offensive WAR. Finished third in the National League in hits. He had 202 hits during the year. And this was the third season of his career with 200 or more hits. He would go back-to-back in 1967 when he led the league in hitting, had 209 hits as well. So this is really our first big power card of these Roberto Clementes here. How many homers? 29 of them. And that's actually his career high, 29 homers. His next season, 1967, when he hit 357, he only hit 23 during that year. So there we go. Roberto Clemente from 1966 is in Perfect Team 24 as a mission reward for Roberto Clemente Teammates 2. All right, folks. Well, folks, if you complete the missions that are related to Roberto Clemente that are going to be released today, you'll receive the 100 overall Roberto Clemente. And boy, howdy, does that picture go hard. 122 BABIP, 81 power, 99 avoid K, 139 contact, 123 gap, 72 on the eye. Against lefties, 125 BABIP, 75 power, 104 avoid K, 142 contact, 125 gap power, 74 on the eye. Against righties, he's got 121 BABIP, 82 power, 97 avoid K, 138 contact, 122 gap, and 71 on the eye. And folks, there's no better time to talk about the whole of Roberto Clemente's career than this. His career spanning from 1955 to 1972, 317, 359, 475 on the slash line, 240 homers, 1,305 RBI, had a 1966 NL MVP award like we just mentioned, 15-time All-Star, 12-time Gold Glover, had 3,000 hits even during his career. He was a 4-time batting champ, led the National League in hits twice, did so in 1964 and 1967, and like I mentioned earlier, the Roberto Clemente Award, MLB's annual humanitarian award, named after him. And of course, as we all know, Clemente passed away very unfortunately, very tragically, in 1972 after the season in a plane crash while en route to deliver aid to victims of the Nicaragua earthquake that occurred during that time. So he passed away doing what he enjoyed doing, and he was often involved in charity work in the Latin American and Caribbean countries during the off season. Often delivered baseball equipment and food to those in need, and he passed away doing what he loved, pretty much. Yep, and obviously the Roberto Clemente Award, annually given to the player who best exemplifies the game of baseball, sportsmanship, community involvement, and the individual's contribution to his team. So there you go. Roberto Clemente, the great Roberto Clemente. By the way, his defense, spectacular. 111 range, 96 error, 125 on the outfield arm. Pretty good stuff right there. 59 speed, 78 stealing, 96 base running, 56 on the sac bunt, 49 on the bunt for hit. So there you go. Roberto Clemente, 100 overall in Perfect Team 24. So there you go. Your Roberto Clemente collection, 1959, 1956, 1962, 1961, 1966, and 1967. The 100 overall. Some very awesome cards being released today. You'll find those coming up at the end of the stream. So folks, before we go ahead and sign off for the day, let's talk about last week's leaderboard champs as we start the second Perfect Team Master Series cycle with PTCS 6 period week number 1, week 23 of tournaments. And let's talk about our leaderboard champs. In the Daily Iron last week, it was Mandy T once again, 2-week streak now for the Madison Moundsmen, 100 points at the top of the leaderboard. In the Daily Bronze, it was Cicero 2K and the Redstone Rockets taking home the leaderboard championship last week in Daily Bronze, 73 points. Daily Silver went to Go Cubs Go 16 in the Webster Grove Supercells with 118 points. Daily Gold, Mr. Audit, and the Mediocres taking home the leaderboard championship today last week with 118 points. Daily Diamond, it was Waz 77 and the Saber-Tooth Tigers with 152 points. Daily Open last week was won by Holophant and the Fun Society with 138 points. Daily Wildcard champion last week was Admiral Relativity and the Lamarinda Star Crushers with 111 points. In weekly tournaments, it's 3 weeks in a row for Isadafo and the Florence Baycats at the top of the rankings, 134 points. In the Perfect Draft Daily, it was Lalorts and the Galveston Shorebirds with 119 points. And in the Perfect Draft Weekly last week, it was Rob Deer in the Headlights and the El Paso Preguntas with 84 points, leading the way in that category. So folks, thank you so much for tuning in to episode number 220 of This Week in Perfect Team. This has been a fun day today, and I will see you back here on Sunday. For the Perfect League World Series. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. I've been Rob Tomlinson, DishNet34, signing out. Have a fantastic rest of your day.